The beach stretched infinitely, a vast expanse of uneven sand scattered with iridescent shells that shimmered like fragments of fallen stars. The setting sun cast its last hues across the horizon, staining the sky in shades of amber and crimson, as if reluctant to surrender to the encroaching night. A cold, biting sea breeze swept across the shoreline, carrying the mingled scents of salt, decay, and mystery. Nork, the coral samurai, moved purposely across the sands. His blue armor caught the fading light, each plate gleaming faintly like the ocean's depths. The shell helmet atop his head creaked softly with each step, its coral patterns intricate and weathered by countless battles. His talons tapped against the uneven surface of the beach, creating a rhythm that blended with the crashing waves. Despite the tension in the air, his gait was steady, his every movement deliberate. The fall of man, Nork said softly, his voice carrying a thoughtful weight. It comes faster than initially comprehended. He paused, his sharp eyes fixed on the horizon where the relentless waves collided with the shore. The rhythm of the sea seemed to echo his words, ancient and unyielding. Primordial transmutation, he continued. At last, the synchronization of creation. As he neared the edge of the beach, an unusual sight caught his attention. A large glass bottle perched precariously on a jagged rock, its contents alive with motion. Inside, a miniature ship battled a raging tempest, its tiny sails straining against the fury of an endless storm. The bottle trembled, vibrating with the force of the contained chaos. Nork watched intently, his gaze narrowing as he contemplated the strange artifact. The sound of the miniature tempest blended with the rhythmic roar of the ocean, creating an eerie harmony. The sudden clanking of armor broke his focus. Nork's instincts sharpened, and he swiftly ducked behind the crumbling remains of an old clam garden wall. His breath steadied, his body melding into the shadows as his hand hovered near the hilt of his bone blade. Move. He must be close, a voice shouted in the distance. A group of Hamarian soldiers clad in mismatched armor sprinted across the sand. Their heavy footsteps left deep impressions in the beach, but their frantic search failed to uncover the samurai concealed in the wall's shadow. Nork remained still, his sharp eyes tracking their movements. Only did her disrespect come with the emergence of the EMP, he whispered to himself, his voice laced with bitterness. Clem, you cast darkness on the sea, playing with cards that you could not understand. As the soldiers moved out of sight, Nork turned his gaze toward a distant outcrop. The serrated rocks jutted out of the landscape like the jaws of a colossal shark, framing the entrance to a dungeon carved into the hill. Intrigued, he made his way toward it, his footsteps soft against the sand. Scattered pearls lay along the path, their smooth surfaces glistening like frozen tears in the fading light. He crouched, picking one up delicately, its luminescence captivating him. Another group of soldiers rushed past, their clamor breaking the fragile serenity of the beach. Nork ducked behind a disfigured coral tree, its twisted branches casting grotesque shadows across the sand. He remained perfectly still, his blue armor blending with the coral's eerie hues. My inner compass, he muttered, his gaze shifting toward the dungeon's entrance. It's led me this way. The air grew colder as he entered the dungeon, the transition marked by the echoing sound of his armored boots against the stone floor. The space was alive with an unnatural chill, the walls glistening faintly with moisture. At the base of a ladder, two colossal clamshells caught his attention, each housed pearls larger than any he'd seen before, their opalescent surfaces reflecting distorted images of his shell helmet. As he leaned closer, the blank wall behind the clam shimmered, revealing the coiled form of a shadowy serpent. Its body glistened with void hooks, the dark metallic adornments catching the faint light. What are you? Nork demanded. His voice was sharp. The serpent's eyes gleamed with a sinister intelligence. Oh, a shadow, it said smoothly, its voice resonating through the chamber. An emblem. Serpent's form rippled like liquid, its presence both mesmerizing and unsettling. You are about to transform, Ronan, it continued, each word heavy with meaning. Existence has been given. Your treasure lives in an adaptation, and the song will embed the heavens. Before Nork could respond, the serpent dissolved into a flow of dark water that washed over the wall, revealing a doorway. Steeling himself, Nork stepped through, the sound of his movements echoing faintly in the gemstone-lined corridor beyond. The walls glittered with embedded crystals, their colors shifting as they caught the light, reflecting his armored form in kaleidoscopic fragments. He entered a vast chamber filled with floating voidfish. Their translucent bodies glowed faintly, pulsating with an ethereal rhythm. The room's towering pillars stood like ancient sentinels, and at the center, a crystalline eye glinted atop a massive pedestal. Beyond the pillars, a pearl lever stood out against the crystalline backdrop. Nork approached the lever with deliberate steps. His grip was firm as he pulled it, the motion causing the pedestal to shrink and reveal a descending passageway. The air grew denser as he moved deeper into the dungeon, the atmosphere charged with an almost mythic energy. The passage of the deep opens the world to new levels of mythic awareness, he said softly. The next room was filled with coral grass, its delicate fronds swaying gently as though moved by an invisible current. Bubbles floated lazily through the air, and at the room's center stood a crystalline shark statue. Its open jaws framed yet another staircase descending into darkness. Nork paused, admiring the statue's craftsmanship. His reflection glimmered faintly on its smooth surface, the blue of his armor casting a serene glow in the ambient light. He descended through the shark's passage, his bone blade reflecting the dim light that guarded his way. This place was once not submerged, he muttered. His voice was thoughtful. The walls around him bore the rough textures of ancient forces, their glistening surfaces whispering secrets of the past. What Hamar has hidden is now in ruin, he said, a note of doubt creeping into his tone. Is the pearl a given, or have I walked in error? The corridor opened into a wide space dominated by a massive wall. As Nork approached, the wall animated, revealing an inky portal where a shark swam in endless circles above a treasure chest. The shark lunged, striking the barrier, and a burst of black ink erupted, coating Nork's armor in sticky sludge. Wiping the ink from his eyes, Nork stared at the wall. The animation had vanished, leaving only an eerie stillness. Strange. The shark, he murmured, an unease prickling at the edges of his mind. Beyond the corridor lay a lit crystalline chamber. At its center sat a beautifully layered clamshell, its opulent surface shimmering with ethereal light. Nestled within was a large clear pearl that radiated an inviting glow. Nork approached cautiously, captivated by the pearl's beauty. Its translucent surface seemed to hold the essence of the ocean itself, reflecting his armored form in intricate patterns of light. The being, the imagined light. My hunch was positive, he said, his voice filled with wonder. Is that my status? He reached out, his hand trembling as he neared the pearl. It's so beautiful, he whispered. The clamshell snapped shut with a resounding finality, swallowing him whole.